Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just recorded another video a little while ago. Um, so it's still Sunday later that afternoon, but I decided to change my sweater so people weren't confused thinking they were watching the same video. Or maybe I'm just confusing myself now with these multiple uploads in one day. Anyway, I am here to review really quickly Sister Wives, season 15. This is episode 11, Everything's Upside Down. I mentioned in my last video, I wasn't sure if this is a mid-season hiatus or if this was the finale. So if you know, leave it in the comments below if you haven't already in my previous video, which will go uploaded first. See, I'm just confusing myself now, so let's just get into it. Two kind of big things happened in this episode. First thing is that we learn that Isabel, Christine's daughter, has scoliosis. Well, we learned that a few seasons ago, but now she's at the point where she's in a lot of pain and she has to have surgery to correct her spine. I remember in the previous season, Cody and Christine were really adamant about not having surgery and just seeing if they can correct the curvature of her spine with like a brace and exercise, but that's not working anymore. So surgery seems to be the only option. So Cody comes over and Christine shares with him that she's got the insurance together. There's an appointment scheduled for September that's going to happen in New Jersey. And Cody is like, why now? Like, we've been dealing with this for 5 years. Like, why surgery now? And Christine's like, well, because she's in a lot of pain. Isabel says, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, she's like at a 8, 9 constantly. That sounds like pain. And so he's like, well, how about we schedule the surgery for like when COVID is over? When is COVID ever going to be over? I mean, this is, if I'm kind of thinking of the timeline, the kids just graduated from high school, so they're probably like in June at this point. We're almost like a year later and COVID isn't done yet. I mean, is it ever really going to be done? I hear, don't quote me on this, I am no COVID expert or doctor, that we might be having to get vaccinated every year for COVID like we do with the flu shot. So is it ever really going to be done? I don't know. And then he says, well, you know, because Isabel's like, well, we don't know when COVID's going to be over. So he suggests, well, how about maybe 6 months from now? And she's like, but my pain. And he's like, well, I mean, he's kind of basically suggesting, like, can you just like deal with the pain and put this off? Because traveling to New Jersey, which is basically New York, which is the East Coast, it's like a hot spot and it's not safe. And he actually has the audacity to suggest, for real, that how about Isabel, like, you go on the surgery like by yourself, like fly out there, handle it. Isabel is 16, maybe 17. She's not even like a 20-year-old adult. Like, she's a child. She's scared. We're not talking about a root canal. We're talking about surgery on your spine. And it was really interesting, I thought, because when he suggested that, you know, Isabel kind of gets quiet and she's just like, I think like, is he serious? Could I really do that? And Christine, because I thought if I were a parent, I'd be like, no, she's not going by herself. But Christine first says, like, Isabel, it's not because you're not important. It's not because we don't care. And it almost like when she said those things, it like clicked in Cody's mind, like, oh, that's how I'm coming off when I suggest something like that. Like, she's not important and I don't care. And, you know, finally, Isabel starts crying and is just like, I can't do surgery by myself. And then Christine jumps in with the, you're not going by yourself. That's not an option. Like, I'm going to be there. Like, don't worry about that. Like, there's no way you're by yourself. I'm going to be with you. And Isabel's like, are we done here? Like, is my scene over? Like, can I leave? And Christine's like, yeah, you can leave. And what I don't think Cody gets, I think, and I don't think this is all men and all dads. Maybe Cody just, because also in this episode, Janelle brings up to Cody that she's going to be traveling to North Carolina to visit, to not visit, but baby Evie's going to have surgery and be fitted for some prosthetic legs. And she's going to go out there to help Maddie, you know, with all of that and the kids and the surgery. And so she's basically going to be out there. And when she gets back, she's going to have to sort of quarantine herself. And it's going to be like all month long. So it's basically, she's not going to see Cody for a month. And she even thought like, oh, maybe Cody would want to come along. But she says, but, you know, I realize it's too long for you. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not going. Like, no way. Like, And then he says to the camera, like, you know, kind of like he's not going, and he kind of would prefer Janelle not go, but, you know, he understands she's got to be there for the kids, and he doesn't want to get in the way of her fun and her good time. And I'm like, what fun, Cody? What good time? Like, this baby, like a real baby, is about to have surgery. Like, there's nothing fun about that. Like, I'm sure Maddie's stressed out, worried. Like, Janelle's being there for her as a mother, as a grandmother, like, because these are medical things we're talking about. Isabel isn't like just want to go to New Jersey to hang out at the Jersey Shore this summer. Like, she's having spinal surgery. These are major things. And I know with Christine, it might be hard to tell because she, you know, kind of vacations and, you know, maybe doesn't heed all that she should regarding COVID. But she says, like, you know, Cody, I know there's certain things we can put off and certain things we can't. And this is something we can't put off. And it's true. Like, medical things, they're going to have to happen, COVID or not. You know, we're, like I said, we're a year into it, and it's not really over. Life does keep going on. And what I don't think Cody gets is, like, we're talking about these women's children. Whether they're a newborn baby, 17, 25, it is their babies. I think back to like when earlier in the season, Mariah called with Audrey and they were still in Chicago and they were like, we got to get out of here. We got to get to Utah. And Mary was like, hey, I'll jump on a plane. I'll be there. I'll help you. Like, whatever you need. Because it's a mother's instinct to want to protect your child. Like, at that point, they didn't know what COVID was. We didn't know what it all implied. And Mary just wanted to protect her child. And Cody was like, slow down. And I mean, maybe it was better for her not to go, but you have to remember, this is a mother's instinct. You know, I don't have kids, you guys. I have nieces and nephews that I love like they're my children, but they're not. I am aware that their parents' love is probably way far greater than mine. But when you see your child in need, hurting, in pain, you want to take that from them if you can, and you want to protect them. Like, I have conversations with my mom who tells me, like, yeah, you're a grown-ass woman. You are on your own, but you are always my baby. I will always be there and try to protect you in any way I can. And that's what Janelle's doing, what Mary wants to do, what Christine's about to do. Like, and not, you know, to be there for your child, you will brave snow, sleet, fire, rain, COVID. Like, I'll risk my life to make sure my baby's okay. That's what these mothers are doing, and I don't know that Cody gets that. Cody says, like, you know, I want to be there for Isabel. You know, I want to be, again, he wants to be that rock, that sun that they all revolve around. You know, he wants to be the hero that, you know, Isabel can lean on and draw strength. Then be there. Then show up. Then fly out there. But, you know, it would mean that he has to be away for at least 10 days, then come home and quarantine for another, like, 10 days. Like, he can't possibly be away from Robin for that long. I mean, I think that's what it is. And it's very convenient to be like, well, COVID, and we need to, you know, protect ourselves and restrictions, and, you know, let the mothers be there for their children how they need to be there for their children. That's it. That's all I have to say. Do you guys know if Isabel had her surgery? Like, I hope the best for her. I'm gonna say a prayer for her. I mean, I can't imagine like having a child in that much pain, and you just, I can only imagine. So I do hope the best for Isabel. I hope it all went well, and, you know, you guys let me know if you know. So the other big thing that happened in this episode is kind of like the scene we've all been waiting for that they keep like showing in the trailer, the I can't do marriage with Cody anymore scene. So it really is Christine getting everybody together on Coyote Pass like they do to present the idea of moving back to Utah. When she gets there, she's really excited. She feels like she has Cody's full support because she thinks he's on board. He's not. So she's optimistic, like she's feeling good. So I don't think the other wives are aware of what's about to be spoken, but they're all there. And Christine shares like, hey, you guys, you know, well, when we were first talking about moving from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, and I know Utah was kind of put on the table, and I know back then I kind of, you know, I wasn't ready because of the laws. I was scared. But now you guys, you know, SB 1-2 happened, and polygamy has been decriminalized, and I'm sitting here wondering, like, why are we still here? Like, we can go home. Let's go home. I want to move back. And she even goes on to say, like, you know, if she was on her own and it was just her, she'd have been left already. She'd be out of there. And the other wives are like, well, the other wives, they shut that shit down real fast, basically. But keep in mind, they just had this recent conversation about communication. So they all want to be kind. They want to listen. You know, they don't want to make anybody feel discarded or, you know, dismissed. So they're going to do their best to really listen to what Christine has to say. But like I said, they shut that shit down fast. Janelle's like, to be honest, you even talking about this, leaving this beautiful land of Flagstaff to go back to Utah, like in my gut, it's making me mad. But, and Christine's like, okay, I hear that. All right. And then, because Janelle says, like, you know, this is my dream here. Like, I'm very happy here. Like, you know, this is where I want to be. Mary's like, you know, when we got kicked out of Utah and we had to leave, she was of the mindset like, hey, you don't want me in your state? Then I wash my hands of you too. You don't get the presence and the privilege of my residency. So yeah, I'm not going back there. And Christine's just like, okay. And then Robin's like, yeah, you know, the laws might have changed, but, you know, society's views on us haven't changed. And, you know, in a perfect world, like, yeah, I wish we could live there, but I don't, like, you know, I worry about my kids, and the law could change back, like, and then what would we do? Like, I don't feel any safer there. Like, it doesn't really matter that the laws have changed. It doesn't matter to her. And Cody, you know, and like I said, Christine's kind of just, everybody's being respectful, and Christine's just like, okay, until Cody speaks up. And then it kind of hits Christine like, oh, he just really did, like I said in my previous video, he threw her to the wolves and acted like they didn't even have a conversation. Because he's like, you know, did you think that we were all gonna like be on board and agree with you to move back? And she looks at him like, and she realizes like, why is he acting like we didn't even have a conversation? Like, I thought he was on board. Like, where is this coming from? And she's just sitting there, and you guys, I can't even joke about it. This broke my heart. She's sitting there, and he's asking like, did you think we were all gonna be on board? And she's just like, yeah, I did. Like, the laws have changed. Like, and, you know, when we were all in the car driving back from, you know, looking at Mariah's venues, like, everybody talked about the mountains and how this is home. And, you know, that's why she thought I thought you all felt the same way. Like, she really thought they all felt like she felt, which makes me think like they're really not spending time together or having conversations, because she seems genuinely surprised that they're all fully against it. Like, and maybe if you spent more time together, got together for lunch, you can sort of like get the temperature on how everybody feels about moving back to Utah, and it wouldn't be such a shock. I mean, Cody knew, and he did try to tell her, like, in fairness, like I said in my last video, he tried to tell her, Janelle don't want to move there, Mary don't want to move there, maybe Robin, but probably not. I mean, he could have maybe been like, yeah, I'm not really moving there, but he kind of, like I said, he was humoring her. And I think the wives feel bad because, you know, like I said, they just had this talk about communication and they want to be sensitive. And Janelle's like, you know, I don't know what to say. Like, I want to make this better for you. I don't know how. Like, is there a way, like, you can settle here? Is there a way this place can be okay and enough for you? And, or can you not answer that? And Christina's just like, I can't answer that right now. I don't know. And then Mary says, are you like thinking about, you know, like leaving irregardless if we go? And she's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And they're all just kind of looking at her. And like I said, you guys, it broke my heart. She looks up and she's just like, we're not moving, are we? And they're just like, no. And she's just crying, you guys. It was so hard to watch. It was so uncomfortable. You know, I would want Cody to kind of like get up and give her a hug, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he could have done, but he just sits there like, I don't know what's going on. Like, why isn't she trying harder? Why isn't she trying to convince them? Like, Cody, you know there's no convincing these wives. They don't want, there's nothing Christine can say. She could have come in like, you know, banging the drum and doing a dance. Like, nothing could have changed their mind. And so at this point, Mary's like, come on. Like, she can see that, you know, Christine's upset. She's crying. There's no making this moment better. So she's like, come on, like, get up, come on, let's kind of go for a walk. And I was like, oh, this made me feel good. Like, okay, Mary's like being there for her, you know, because she just said in the last episode, she's got to pull this family together, save this family. So I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. So this is the moment, you guys, where she gets up, they start walking away, and Christine says, I can't do marriage to Cody anymore. And Mary's like, don't say that. You can't say that. Like, look at the mountain. Remember the mountain? Look at the mountain. And she's just like, I can't do it anymore. And she's like, no, don't think about that. Don't think about that. The mountain. Look at that mountain. And I shouldn't laugh, but Christine's like, I don't want, like in her confessional, I was like, I don't want to look at the mountain. But she tells Mary, like, it's not enough. Like that mountain view, like it's not enough. And Mary's just like, well, make it enough. Make it enough. And she's like, and she's just like, you can't give up. Like, you're not allowed to give up. You can't quit. And she's like, why can't I? And she's like, because you're not a quitter. Well, why does it have to be quitting? Because it's quitting. Like, Mary's answers aren't like real answers. They're just like, because it's quitting. And she's just like, you know, I can't do it anymore. I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to forget anything. And then Mary says, okay, look, are you just hurting? Like, is it just coming from a place of hurt? And Christine's like, yeah, I'm hurting. Okay, well then you can't make any decisions when you're hurt. Like, I know that. Like, you know, you're not, you know, you just have to kind of like deal with the hurt, work with the hurt, but you're not in your right mind. You can't say what you want. Like, trust me, I know. And then Christine's like, well, you know, maybe like it's just things have changed. No, things haven't changed. Like, no, no, that's not it. Like, you're just hurting. And then she looks at Christine and says, like, look at me. You know what I've been through. You know what I've gone through. Like, you know, like, and Christine's like, looks at her like, yeah. And what I wanted Christine to say, which she kind of sort of does, is just like, yeah, I know where you're at and I don't want to be there. I don't want to be where you are. Because Mary's telling her, like, you know, you've been in this for like, 29, 28, 27, however many years, you know, like, that's too many to give up. Like, you can't give up on that. Like, you have to fight for it. You know what's there, you know, and you got to fight for it. Like, you know, you made a commitment. I made a commitment. Like, and Mary tells the camera, like, I made a commitment to Cody, to Christine, to Janelle, to Robin, like, and I'm not giving up. But what happens when Cody gives up? You know, he committed too, but he don't seem so committed to you, Mary. And I'm just like, what I wanted Mary to do when she got her up and like walked her away was I wanted her to say, you know what, Christine, like, I know these aren't the answers you wanted to hear. Like, I know you want to move back to Utah, and I'm sorry that that's not going to happen with us. But I love you. You're a part of my family. I want you to stay part of the family. If I can make this better for you, if I can be helpful, if you need me, I'm here. But I want you to know, no matter what, I support you and we will always be family. Because I feel like, is that part of the reason why Mary doesn't want to leave, is because she's afraid of losing her family, that they're all gonna, I don't know, disconnect from her. That's such like a Scientology word, but because maybe she needs to hear, like, you know what, even if you're not with Cody, even if you're not living in a cul-de-sac or in one house or on this property at Coyote Pass, like, you're still family. You're still going to be at the weddings, the baby showers. We're still going to include you. Like, you might not be with Cody, but you're still part of this family. And that's maybe what she needs to hear. And that's what I wish she would tell Christine. Like, no matter what, we're family. Because that's what they're saying, right? Like, even if Cody was gone, we're still family. Like, we're always going to be family. And I'm always going to support you. And I'm here for you no matter what. Because I think Christine feels alone. Like that first episode, she said, you know, I feel like nobody likes me. Nobody wants me around. Like, reassure her, I want you around. I don't want you to leave. It would break my heart if you left. But hey, I know what it's like to be going through the shit with Cody. Because yeah, I've been there, and you got to take care of you. Or you can be Mary. And sitting in her confessional interview couch, Christine's like, yeah, I know what Mary's been through. And I know what her relationship with Cody is right now. And I don't want that. I mean, she didn't say that to Mary, but that's how I felt. Like, yeah, you know, a mountain vista view is not going to be enough. We did make commitments long ago, but right now it's not enough. And like I always say, I'm an advocate for working marriages out. And whether you agree or not, Cody is in a marriage with Christine. And just like he is with Mary and Robin and Janelle, and they all got to work it out. And I thought it was interesting, again, like I'm recalling now, when Christine and Cody kind of wrapped up their conversation about Isabel, you know, he kind of just stood up like, okay, well, you know, make the appointment as soon as you can. I got to get out of here. And she was like, okay. And he left. When Cody and Janelle were having their conversation about her going to North Carolina and being away for a month, you know, in that conversation, she was like, I'm worried about us. I'm worried about our relationship, you know, being away for so long. I'm going to miss you. And he was like, well, you know, we've been through worse. We've been away before. And she's like, yeah, but I need to hear you actually say we're going to be okay. And he's like, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. You know, we're going to get through it. And he was like, you know, I got to go. And she was like, okay. He stood up. He gave her a hug and a kiss goodbye. It's very telling where I mean, you can see where he is in these relationships. And maybe the difference is Christine isn't willing to settle for the nothing bullshit that Mary is. And I don't blame her. I do want couples to work it out. And I think it could be worked out with Mary. I think it could be worked out with Christine, but Cody has to want to do that, and he doesn't really seem interested. I feel like he pushes them away in this sort of passive aggressive way so that they get to the point where they leave, and he doesn't have to be the bad guy. It could be, well, Christine left, Mary left. Like, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed here. Remember, he's never going to ask for a divorce. It would go against his faith and conscience. So he's just going, you know, to kind of do nothing so that they just leave and he can just be with the preferred wife, Robin. Anyway, you guys, that was the episode. I think it might be the finale. It might be just a break. I'm not sure. It ended like on a really sad note. Like, it was just like there was no music. It was just like you could just hear, like, you know, you have Mary with her arm around Christine and you're just hearing like the rustling of the trees. And it was very just like, oh, this is ominous, like scary. Like, oh, what is going to happen to the family, you guys? Like I said, my very first video reviewing the Sister Wives, I watched like the first few seasons, like getting ready to review this season. And it's a totally different show now in terms of like how they operate as a family. And they're all living monogamously, you know, sort of. And, you know, I don't know. I kind of, you know, if you'll allow me another minute, when Christine was talking about Isabel's surgery, she was saying, you know, like if Cody was around more, he would see she's in pain every day, but he's not. And I thought like, well, you know, Christine, like maybe if you all lived in one house, then he would be there every day and he would see it every day. And I don't blame Christine for not wanting to live in one house. I wouldn't either, but I'm also not a polygamist. If I was, and I decided to be, then I would be like, yeah, as one family, we need to be in one house. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But I mean, if we all lived in one house as one family, then maybe Cody would have to confront Mary and the state of their non-union. You know what I mean? Like, either you're going to have to face it and decide to be with her and work on it or not, because then you have the family, the kids, the wives looking at you as a couple with Mary like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? Like, and you would either decide we're going to work this out and you're going to put in the effort, or, you know, Mary, maybe you should leave, like, and still be part of the family, but just like, you know, parents do get divorced. I like I say, I'm always an advocate for working it out if you can, but sometimes it can't be worked out. And if I'm in a marriage where I am emotionally, sexually, spiritually abandoned, like Mary's abandoned, like her husband has abandoned her, like that's grounds for divorce, and he doesn't want to come back around and he doesn't want to fix it, then it's a wrap and I'm ready to move on. You know, I think, you know, that Mary could get her own spinoff show. I've heard that before from like other reviewers, like Mary Happily Married Ever After, the Mary life. I don't know, but I mean, I would watch. I'd want to like, yeah, Mary, get back into that dating scene, you know, get into your little businesses. Like, she could totally do it, but, you know, I guess there's a side of your faith and religion that calls you to stay together forever, but certain things can't be worked out. But I think I'm rambling now, you guys. So rate, comment, subscribe. What did you guys think of the episode? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for always, you know, coming back and watching. And I will see you next time for Seeking Sister Wife. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day, Sunday. Bye.